writing perspective, if we think of anything that you write as a process, after you've written your report, you've filled in the form with the sections and you make your recommendations. I think another writing tip that that I could perhaps air is that your writing is never done when you typed your last word. If you think you're done, you're not done.
And you know what, Anneke, I think a lot of social workers might do that, not because they don't want to look at it again, but because
pressure.
they don't have time. And it's just about getting this one thing off my shoulder. But I hope that today they can realize that maybe at least look at it a second time, if they can, if it's possible, for whatever you're going to say next.
Yeah. So the two things that I think are important to keep in mind after you've written or filled in the form or written the report is revise and edit. And they mean different things. They're not the same thing.
Okay.
So if you revise your report, and I would, if they can, if it's possible, I think I understand and I hear that enormous, tremendous pressure that they work under. If you can, for example, obviously read it through once again, just to check yourself, but if you can put it away for a day, if that is possible, because if you write and when you write, you have an idea in your head and you think that you are writing that idea because you hear it, because it's in your head, but in fact you never write it down. It happens often. And if you have the luxury of a day or two, if you can build that into your plan, your calendar, your timeline, that you can just pick up the report that you wrote 2 days ago for revision and for editing.
What does that do?
I'm going to say,
what does that do, that break from the product?
Because it's not in your head, you read it cleaner.
Oh.
And then you can see your own mistakes perhaps better. So when...
And I'm sorry, I'm wondering now if I'm thinking of a social worker who's just gone into removing a child, for instance. I'm not talking about maybe a situation where there's an investigation, but perhaps a Form 36 where there's an immediate removal. The day you get the call, there's enough grounds for you to go in tonight. And then, you know, it's still a very hot situation. So then that break could allow you to just breathe, be calm in yourself.
Create a distance.
Yes, for that objectivity perhaps.
Absolutely. I think that would help objectivity. So if we just can stop and look at revision and editing. With revise, I mean that you can have that objective look on your own work to see if your whole report follows a logical sequence. Is there a big jump in your argument or your outline of the situation that you think, oh, there's a jump, I need to write, no one else is going to know. I know, but it's not written down. So you can pick up on your own mind jumps that no one else can fill in if you're not there. So the revision is for completeness and for logical flow and for, I'm making a bold statement here. This is really a bold statement. I need to back it up with facts. Or I need a reference here to support my...
Or maybe a very emotive a sentence.
Yeah. You come across a very emotive sentence and you write that objectively.
You know, something like, it was a very disturbing scene. You know? And it maybe was. But
it was true for you.
Yeah.
Yes. But then to use the disturbing scene, the word disturbing, that's loaded with emotion, and it's actually an empty word, because what does disturbing scene mean? Can you be more specific, more exact, that everyone would understand the same from the word that you choose to use? For example, the children were left uncared for. Say specifically. what happened.
Can I ask you, Anneke, to give me an example? Say, for instance, a social worker writes in a report, the children were very dirty, right? How would you say one could write that differently to be more clear and more specific and less ambiguous, or less open to a varied interpretation? How would you say the children are very dirty? How would you just say it differently, write it differently?
I must say, actually, your previous example was a better one of ambiguity. Really, the disturbing, the scene was very disturbing because that's loaded with emotion.
Yeah.
So the children were very dirty. I see the dirty children in front of me.
Yeah.
But
perhaps they could describe what they saw.
Exactly what you see.
Yeah.
And it typically looks like a child that has not been bathed for
that's
a number of days.
Yes.
Or the clothes were clearly, it's not a type of dirty, or the clothes look as if the child has been wearing that same set of clothes for a week.
Because
you can
the color.
Yeah. Wrinkles, color, smell.
Yes.
Use your senses to justify your judgment, because the children are very dirty is obviously your perception.
That's right.
But it's not a worthless perception because you are a trained expert. We have to remember that as well. But if you can back it up, because I'm now reminded of what you said about the lawyer, that you don't want to leave a door open for someone to what does dirty mean, and how do you know that's dirty? How do you know the child didn't play outside? So if you can qualify the dirty, if you can back it up with senses that smell, look, feelings, But that was an
frequency. It's not just one time.
Yes, absolutely. And then just perhaps, if I may end off then, the edit. The revision is the logical flow of your argument. The edit would be the little technical, grammatical details, the polishing of the technical aspects. If you type, please use a language checker. It helps us all, not the US language checker. We use the UK one in South Africa. South African English is aligned with the United Kingdom spell checker. Yeah, even the South African English, that spell checker doesn't pick up everything. So I would really advise one to use the UK one, and it helps you. It has the blue squiggle or the red squiggle underneath. If you struggle with a word, use the easy word. Use the common easy word and rather be clear. If a word is spelled incorrectly, right click. The options would be, make sure that you pick the right option.
I want to interrupt you. Sorry, Anneke, sorry for interrupting you, but it's such a you just said about using the simpler word or synonym, because when social workers write their reports, their clients must also be able to understand what is written in the report. For instance, before you go into court, the clients are normally asked, was the report shared with you? Do you know the contents thereof? And so it should always be written in a way that is understood by your clients. And social work clients come from a variety of backgrounds. So that is a very good thing that you've just said, in terms of not only for yourself, so that you actually understand what you're saying and you're trying to be fancy, and then when they ask you, you don't know the meaning of the word, but also that your clients are respected and that they know what is being said about them and their background.
It's accessible to them, absolutely. If you revise and edit your work and you come across a word that you often use and you pick up there's repetition, if you right click on a word, you will also see synonyms that you can perhaps consider, just for a little bit of variety.
Why is that important?
I think it creates, when you read something and the same word, it's very dirty, it's very light, it's very this, it's very that, it becomes a pattern, and your reader, it's kind of like a stuck record. You pick it up, And later you concentrate on that word that keeps on repeating and you miss the message.
Okay.
It becomes like a little obstacle, unconsciously, a little obstacle in your, like a clippy in the road.
Thank you for explaining that, because I don't think we always understand why it's not good practice, you know, to say very, 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 you know. So that's really that helps.
And because and also in addition, just to break that pattern, that monotonous pattern. I think that is the main point, to find in terms of a writing process, to approach writing, to see it as the accessing the fact, the gathering of the facts, the processing, the thought process of the social worker, making the links, finding the sources, back it up, make sure about terminology, everything that happens within the social worker, and then the recommendations. And then when you put everything together, the revision and the editing that must come afterwards.
Tell me, Anneke, from your perspective, just a couple of questions. And some of them might sound silly to some social workers out there, but I'm going to ask them nonetheless. Why, from your perspective, would it be important to conclude your report with your signature? Why should your signature be there? From your perspective, what would you say? What is the essence or the significance of a signature of the author of the paper, or report rather?
Yeah. I must say that in my work, the closest that I have is with formal letters, you know, the same link. And I think it has the same function. I think it has its roots in tradition, I think, but there's some level of authority and some level of, this is my work and I stand by it, and I stand in like a mother or a father for this report. So this is me, I say it, this is my professional judgment.
So like also authenticity and authority.
The authority, I think, has definitely, yes. Authenticity, yes. It's the seal that you put on.
Yeah.
Like in old times with wax, and you put your seal.
Yeah.
I declare that this is true and correct and my honest opinion, and it comes from me, the expert. We're back in that. We're back to the expert again. The authority that comes with your report.
And that is
most likely,
that is why you can consider what is written here. And I think that's also why credentials are important at the end of your signature. Again, your title, name, surname. What are you? You're not a dentist, right? So you're a social worker.
Yes.
Registration number to confirm that you are registered with the council. And then your contact details must be on the cover page as well, but always at the bottom. I think it's just makes it helpful for the reader to, you know, make it easy for them to, where's the number I need to.
So for your client, it gives them comfort. For the court, it gives them credibility of what's written here.
Yes.
You give credibility to that. Wonderful. Wonderful.
And Anneke, what's wrong with the court report that's filled with spelling errors? Why are we going on about this, you know? Grammar.
Yeah.
Why? What's the...
They talk about the grammar police, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we have to admit, if the information is factually correct, that should be the more important thing. I think we have to admit that. But that said, you are proud of your work, and you want to be taken seriously.
Yes.
And if you want to be taken seriously, you have to show the reader, that's the court, the audience. You are serious about what you do and what you write, and you are proud of what you do and what you write. And you've made an effort to make sure that it is as good and clean and professional as possible.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the reality is that life can become a little bit easier for you as a social worker if you can win over the respect of the legal professionals. Maybe not always and maybe not completely, because we all have a job to do, but if you can just show also respect to the legal professionals who have to read your report, or the clerk of the children's court, the canalization officer at the Department of Social Development, etc. It's almost a way of respecting other people as well, hey? Is to show that you didn't neglect the technical care, the linguistic care, or whatever you would call it. You're the expert, but out of pure respect for people who have to read it.
Yeah. And there should be cases where misspellings could lead to misinterpretations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where a word is spelled completely incorrectly or used in the wrong way, have due.
Yeah.
So, no, it is important. And why would you say, from your profession, is it important for these reports to be typed and not handwritten?
I think we've covered, it's the same answers in any case. Respect, professionalism, credibility. Obviously, I can imagine myself that there are social workers out there that rely on a form to fill in. But when I looked at the form, the tick list, and it's actually a form, it's a comprehensive form, the report. There's a place issue for me. When I looked at some of the headings, perhaps you need for a specific case to write more than the place you have there. And perhaps then some of the facts will be sacrificed.
Yes.
So I think you have more leeway and more room to have a complete and accurate report if you type it. Obviously, the danger is that you must not go too far, too long. Not that it sounds as if anyone has the time to do that. But to stick to the point, to stick to the issues. But I think that will allow that to you. And I think apart from the professionalism and the credibility and everything, perhaps it will make your own life easier if you start to do that from an administrative point of view, from a filing point of view, a reference point of view. That would make perhaps also the difference to your own life and to your own administration.
And then obviously, Anneke, just to put it out there, if you attach evidence to your court report, whether it be an affidavit or maybe a psychologist's report or a school report, that you make reference to that in the body of your report by referring to, say, addendum. What is the more correct terminology? Would it be addendum or appendix?
I think they are definitely
both
changeable.
So then you would say see addendum A, and then at the back of your report, there would be something that says addendum A, and then the actual document that you're referring to. Hey, so that's a good way of making reference to the evidence that you can attach.
Absolutely. And I would perhaps add to say that in the body of the report that you'll have a whole list of everything that you are going to attach. That someone can double check it. If it's like in hard copy, sometimes they fall off, but then there's evidence inside the report that has the whole list of addenda. So addenda is then the plural, addendum is then the addendum A. And then the thing that you mentioned now, for each addendum that you add, to have a label like A with a specific linked to a specific report, or addendum B to another one. If you label them, it makes logical sense.
And it makes it easier to follow.
Not just addenda and then all of them at the back in a bundle. Because you need the court to refer to one of them specifically. They need to refer to A, B, or C. And I'm sure that in your report, those extra documents you're also going to use as sources of evidence.
Yes.
And you use the same reference for the addendum reference. C addendum A.
Yeah. And then something, I don't know if you just want to comment on the importance and the value of in-text referencing to literature for statements made. Do you have a comment on that, maybe from your point of view, from your profession?
I'm sure that you're going to use APA, right? Are you? The APA style, or APA
Well,
or Harvard?
we do, but I think there are some social workers who use a Harvard referencing style. Yeah.
So the moment you refer to an outside source, a published source, we have to acknowledge that source. It is not your work, it is work, it's work that you access from another source, and ethically we have to acknowledge that source. And then basically the two ways, you can either quote a phrase or quote a piece, and then it's an in-text reference, a direct quote, yes, or you can paraphrase it in your own words. And I think that's the one where we sometimes skip it or miss it or don't think we have to do it.
Yes,
that if you paraphrase and you refer to a source, you didn't use the exact words from the source, that you don't have to acknowledge the source, but you still have to. It's good practice. It shows it's not only ethical behavior, it shows that you know what is out there in the field, and you showcase your knowledge. For example, if you refer to a certain disorder, you show, if you reference a source on that disorder, that you know what is out there, that you are on top of your literature.
Yes. And that your statement is backed up. So if you say the impact of a child witnessing domestic violence in the home is detrimental to the child's self-esteem or cognitive development, have literature to back it up, because you don't know if someone in court is going to say, okay, but please explain how you came to that conclusion. And then, you want to be able to say, well, I refer to that literature. It was a study done on this, and they found A, B, and C, and D. So, yeah, that's also something to remember with the way we can improve our court reports, is to reference literature. Maybe now that you say that, maybe I should upload the 2 different referencing guides on the Cave for colleagues who might have forgotten,
I think that would be really useful to the beautiful social workers visiting the Cave. Yeah.
Anneke, you have really helped talking to us from a completely different profession. I think just supporting what many have said before, but really giving us a nice structured way of looking at the process of communication in terms of written communication, and I really hope that social workers will be able now to improve their process, as they approach this writing task, and remember that it's a vehicle of change. So thank you so much for your time. You've been incredible, and we really
it's a pleasure.
And before we say goodbye, do you have, if you could imagine the child protection social workers, hundreds of them sitting in front of you right now, what would you like to say to them?
There's actually something that I always carry with me in terms of writing that I want to say to everyone. You are not born a good writer. You are not. You have to practice to become a good writer. We have to only look at good athletes. If we think about Usain Bolt, that is an amazing athlete, he still practices.
Wow. Yeah.
Even if I don't shy away from starting to write anything, because I've done it just so many times. It is just practice, nothing else, that gives you that confidence. So we have to keep that in mind. And it's the revision and editing that I think in my life made me a kind of a better writer.
Yeah.
It is the revision and editing of my own work and the acknowledgement of good writing that I see out there.
And I love that distinction that you made between revision and editing, and
yes.
I mean, that's gold.
On an idea level and on a technical level.
Yeah, that is really brilliant.
You cannot do both, because you will skip off.
Yeah.
You will neglect one of the two.
Yeah.
So do it once for the idea and the flow and the completeness and the accuracy and the support, and the other one for the polish.
I mean, that's really brilliant. I always thought they were kind of the same thing. So,
yes.
That is really good. And you know, to the social workers who are going, oh my gosh, I don't have a day or two to leave a report. Are you mad? Maybe they have an hour or two, which is better than nothing. You know, to come back a bit cleaner in
sizing after a cup of tea. Yeah. And I would suggest start with one. Yeah. When you have the luxury, perhaps once, that you can have a little break and see if that works for you. See how much of your own gaps you can play devil's advocate against yourself. You know, try to find be the critic,
and that,
or something doesn't add up. Yeah,
and that also protects you as a social worker. You know, not to get bombarded with questions by the attorney. And you know, we don't always know if there will be an attorney. You know, and so I always say, prepare as though there is an attorney waiting to shred you and your report apart.
Prepare for absolutely everything. Yeah. To protect yourself, to have the best chance for the child.
Exactly, and the best interest of the child is of paramount importance. And that's also something, obviously not from a linguist point of view, but just of a social worker, that should be evident throughout your court your investigation, the processing, the synthesis, the analysis, and the report and the recommendation, is that the best interest of the child is above any other interest.
Yes.
So, Anneke, we've spoken longer than we planned to.
It was lovely.
But I'm not surprised, because it's so refreshing to have someone from your field here. And again, thank you very much, and good luck with all your work in academia. I know. And you know, you didn't have to do this, but you did, and it's like almost like a volunteering session. So we're very, very grateful.
Pleasure.
And maybe we see you in the future on the cave again.
Who knows? I would love to. Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone. And thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.